Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising 2 cups and we'll chill. The knowledge is so real for a trio so true to representing the gray, red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you can't deny. So just one time, let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Soccer podcast? Huh.
And we're just gonna go live. All right, we're here. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're joining us to talk some FC Dallas soccer. Whether you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, or whatever, however you find us. Thanks for being here. Send in your comments, your questions, and we will get to them as the conversation unfolds. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. So, of course, I'm Nathan. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill. There is Tommy at Tom_FC Dallas. Ismail is with us again at Belcora Isma. And Jose at El Chico Carmona. We're going to get into it.
Bienvenidos.
It's been a couple weeks since we were on. We're still sort of getting in that preseason mode. We're getting fit for the season. So, but there's just been so much news. There's been rumors, and now last time we talked a lot about rumors. Now we're talking about news, real signings for FC Dallas. Dan Hunt said it's a new era, and for once, as an FC Dallas fan, we're actually going like maybe it is a new era, like. So let's get to the big signings. We've heard it was rumored. It seemed like it was negotiated back and forth. But Alan Velasco, an incredible talent from Argentina, Independiente. Thank you. Incredible talent. In fact, fans from his team complained bitterly when the deal was officially announced. So Alan Velasco, a huge talent, coming to Major League Soccer and coming not to Atlanta United, not to the LA Galaxy, Seattle or whatever, coming to FC Dallas. A left winger, he can play attacking mid, he can play right, So let's just give our reactions. What does this signing mean for FC Dallas? For $7 million plus incentives. Jose, let's start with you.
I mean, it means a new era, call it what you will. We're a notoriously cheap team, and we're just not used to spending money on free agency. And honestly, if the way Dallas has been brought up with relying on the young people and whatnot, and we've always said, hey, why don't we go out and get other young, talented players and spend money on them? And to see the team actually do that, go out and get one of the guys that, despite his age, everyone is raving about. It's just astonishing. And not just that, they also, not the only person they brought in, they also brought in an experienced MLSer, which we haven't had in years, mind you. So just stunning. I think we're all as fans are still just trying to wrap our heads around it and think to ourselves, is this true? Can I actually be optimistic? And I think we're getting there.
Yeah. Paul Arriola, also part of one of the largest internal transfers in Major League Soccer history.
This is the biggest FC Dallas offseason that I don't think. I mean, maybe their first offseason ever when they first slapped the team together, but I don't think it's unquestionably right now the biggest offseason we've ever witnessed, and it's not even done yet. That's what everybody is going nuts about.
It's not even done yet. Um, yeah, Ismail, jump in there. What are your reactions to the confirmation of these signings?
Uh, I'm the pessimist of the group, as you all know. So this is a great signing. It's great to see that for the first time, I would say ever, that the Hunts have shown ambition, have thrown out their wallet, which we know is big, and actually gotten. Um, the whole key now is how he transitions into MLS, how comfortable he is, if he works well in the system, if he plays to the level that he was playing with Independiente, he could be Almiron. It's also plausible that he reaches a Barco level, where 4 years into MLS he gets loaned back to Argentina. Um, so I'm very happy that the Hunts are showing initiative. Uh, Now the next step is to actually produce make the talent produce, have them perform well, have them all connect under a coach that this is going to be, for better or worse, his first head coaching job, with a professional side. So let's again, this is going to be a very interesting season. I came out of the 2021 season thinking 2022 is going to be probably a rebuild that's going to be kind of poor, and now have more hope. And that's the thing. I don't know where we're going from here. That's why 2022 is going to be real interesting.
Tommy, jump in.
Oh, well, there's a lot to say here. What happened last night? How many FC Dallas players played last night? I used to kind of laugh at myself when I hear Dan Hunt saying I'm helping to build the World Cup and win the World Cup, and I used to laugh because it just didn't seem like it, right? But then you saw all those FC Dallas players playing last night, and then not only did they sign Velasco and Arriola, they made all these aggressive moves in the draft, and they gave Jesus Ferreira a DP, a young DP contract. And I always thought, if you're going to develop players, you don't want someone like some of the wingers that we had. I won't say names, but it wasn't the best situation for your forwards to thrive. And Pepe still did. It's MLS, but imagine Pepe up top with Velasco and Arriola and Hayes and Paxton, who we always wanted to move to the middle. Can you imagine what kind of year Jesus Ferreira is going to have? And I just think that. But in reality, it's. I still think it's hiring the coach Nico is about USA development. But Arriola came to us because he wants to play. He wants to go to World Cup. It's about developing Jesus Ferreira for the World Cup. But also with signing Velasco says, hey, we're in it to win. We brought this keeper in. We wanted to win. And Dan Hunt is now overnight, really overnight, has changed his mojo, and he's texting left and right, and it's kind of odd because it's like the guy who punched you in the face, and then he says, "Hey, I want to be your friend." It's like it's right next. It's really overnight, but I welcome it, and Dan, I applaud you. You are making a change. I hope it's sincere, and we like it. I like it.
And I just want to point out that Tommy is a season ticket holder. So I mean, Dan, he's exactly who Dan is trying to impress upon that he's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Todd pointing out that every goal this window was scored and/or assisted by a current or former FC Dallas or FC Dallas Academy player for the United States men's national team. Yeah. Yeah.
But let's face it. We've all said that there's been a missing link. We all understand that we have a great academy and great young players coming up. But we were all saying, hey, why is there no support for that? When our best players are the young players and not the veterans, that's an issue that we need to address. And it just looks like the ownership has listened to us and said, okay, we didn't make the playoffs. Maybe we do need to address that.
Todd also says sell $30 million of talent spend $15 million on imports. Dan Diamond, Jim Hunt. Well, there is some issue. I mean, there's technical things with all this. I don't think like Dallas got the wire transfer of like $30 million straight, right? It comes in payments, it comes over time, and there's always incentives and things. So that's the challenge of this.
Pepe is over 3 years. They might have gotten the Reynolds money already, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's not all one big cash dump, but the money is coming. It is there.
Mm.
And I believe the Velasco signing is a signing that it's temporary. It's to develop him and sell him again. He's a young guy. He's very young. There's no way he may not come in and be the superstar overnight, but in a year or two, he may be the guy. And actually, I think he's going to do well. Go ahead.
I agree. Let's face it, though, but that's what we want. If you can bring in a high-end talent and have him for 2 seasons. We did have Pepe for like 2 seasons, and it only started 1. So that's really what you want. And you want
I want young players, not old
outside
players.
talent that matches what's coming through the academy. That's what's been missing on this team is, hey, we're producing talent, but let's supplant that talent with international talent. And that's the step. I think it's just a step. It doesn't mean we're there, but it's the next evolution of FC Dallas, and I think we're all just excited to see what's going to happen, really.
We are. Now, my big question, and this is off the rails, y'all, is that my hope is that Alan Velasco comes here to Frisco and he falls in love with the wonderful Texas gal or what, I don't, and gets his citizenship and then switches to the U.S. But I don't know if that ship has already sailed, if he's already been capped. But anyway, one can dream. But I got to ask Nico Estevez, our new head coach. Interestingly enough, he had to be in protocol. The team is in preseason down in Bradenton, Florida, at the IMG Academy, getting fit, starting doing that work. But he had to enter COVID protocols during this time at the beginning of the season, so he wasn't able to be with the team as much as he would like. But when he was able, and he was on a call today, and I got to ask him about the Alan Velasco signing and just kind of how he's going to deal with the expectation of such a phenomenal talent coming to the team. So let's just listen in on that really quick. Let me pull it up here.
The ownership, Dan Clark and Andre for this signing. As you just said, is a big accomplishment from the club. Spend a lot of money for this player, and as you know, big promising big player that is still young, and we cannot forget that, still 19 years old. I feel the same when I came here, when I had my conversations with Andre, with Dan, and with Clark. It was clear the ambitions from the club and my ambitions also. For that reason, I feel the same pressure as the beginning. It's not going to change, and we'll have to help him to adapt to the league, because as we know, and there's other examples of young players coming to this league from Argentina and other countries. Like Brazil, we can see Brenner, we can see from Cincinnati, we can see Barco when he just came into the league. It took a little bit to them to adapt. And for us, the work is to help him to adapt quicker and to help the team and enjoy playing with us and helping us getting wins.
So you heard it from Nico. One of their priorities there is to help him adjust. There is an adjustment period for these young players, no matter how talented. I'm sure there are a few outlier cases we can point to of guys who adjusted quickly and hit the ground running. But for most players, Haider Obrian, for example, is one that the FC Dallas fans will know well. It takes some time to adjust to the physicality of the league, the speed of other players. How the refereeing is different, how the game has, its own little flavor here stateside. And you know, my concern about the signing is just the Norman. It's a lot of money for this team to spend on a player. So, like Frank O'Hara, they're gonna have to run him out sooner rather than later. But he's only 19 years old. So I appreciate Nico sort of acknowledging that, hey, he's a young guy. It's going to take time. Um, and so it'll be interesting to see how the team sort of adjusts to that. I mean, do you all think you think the team is going to feel pressure with all this money on him? Is this uncharted territory for FC Dallas? And is there a chance for them to sort of get some decisions wrong here? Ismail, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think he's mentioning Brenner and Barco as examples, and he's saying that he knows it's difficult, especially for a teenager, to come to a new country, be able to feel at home, feel comfortable, and be able to play to the level that he can. And he is right. That is a major issue. It's a major issue that FC Dallas had just last year. I mean, Orion, I don't think is the best example. I think the best example is Freddie Vargas, a player like Freddie Vargas, who did not succeed in this league. But we should also remember he is very young. He came to this country very young, on basically an opportunity to improve, like to impress, and a major league team on a big scale, and he wasn't able to do it, which is why I think it was interesting to read that Dallas Morning News article that FC Dallas started what they're calling a player care department to take care and help these kids, and like all players that are coming in, transition into the team, feel more comfortable. I think that is super important. So it's not so much that there's a chance it doesn't work, because there's always a chance. But this department that they're creating, I think, is in the long run going to be even bigger than signing a player like Velasco, because they're recognized. This is another great thing about this new Dan Hunt. This is a great thing that they're recognizing from their issues, from their past mistakes, and trying to implement solutions, which is very exciting. That's one of the best things that's happened this offseason, that they're learning from their mistakes.
So hide the barbecue from Velasco, right? Well,
Yeah.
no, please don't. I mean, that's a human rights violation right there. Like, barbecue is a gift. But anyway, all right. Anyone else want to weigh in? Jose, you want to weigh in, Tommy?
I'll
sure.
tell you what.
Jose, go ahead.
You know what's different about this movie is Dallas has always been a bit of a bargain hunting team where they look for deals on players. You know, they get a scoop on a player that they can get that's affordable that might help the team, but doesn't necessarily fit the team. A perfect example is Cobra. Cobra's the guy that we got because he wasn't getting paid in Poland by his club. And so we got him on the cheap, and we were like, who is this guy? You know, this Polish guy, Czech guy, actually. And mind you, his arrival in Dallas wasn't great. He's actually an example of a guy that took a while to get acclimated. And then when we're all saying, okay, he was a waste of money, then all of a sudden, boom, he's banging goals, and he gets called up to his national team. That's one example. You got Hara, who they spent a lot of money on, but again, square peg in a round hole. You're talking about Aaron Guiz. The number of players they've spent money on that they got good deals on, but didn't fit the team are numerous. This is not the case with Velasco. The difference with Velasco is they said, this is the guy we want. This is a guy that we're willing to spend the money that fits what we're trying to implement. Because this is what they're trying to implement. They signed Jesus Ferreira to be the guy. They made him the DP. And how did they convince him to be the guy? They said, not only are we going to make you a DP and pay you like you're one of the best players in the MLS, but we're also going to surround you with the talent that you need to succeed. We're going to bring in an MLS experienced player in Arriola, which the team badly needed, by the way. And we're also going to bring you a super young talent. So just like that, even though we've lost Pepe, you have to admit that the league is noticing that, holy crap, say what you will about Dallas, but their young talent up front is going to be scary. You know, we may be inconsistent, but you got to admit that the attack is going to be, we don't know where the goals come from, but there will be days where teams will be having nightmares trying to figure out how to stop this team. It's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page and consistency. But there's going to be days we're going to be like, wow, this team's amazing. And there's going to be days where we're like, wow, they're pretty young. Hopefully more as the team gets consistent. Like you said, it could be Barco. And by the way, also Jurgen Damm. Atlanta just announced that he's out. So there's a danger in spending a lot of money on a young player and him tanking out. There is that danger. But it's so good to see Dallas making that gamble, which we haven't seen. You got to hit for the fences. You got to take that swing. If you're just bunting all the time or trying to hit it, trying to get the first base, that's what Dallas has been doing forever. And we were like, would you just swing for the fences and spend the money, take a gamble? Thank God.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know whose player this was. I can only assume that it's Nico's player. It could be.
It is Nico.
Zanata's.
Actually, Sonoda's player. Sonoda basically, they interviewed Velasco, and he said that Sonoda apparently had his eyes on him for a while.
Gotcha.
So this is a Sonoda guy all the way.
But also I wanted to say is that it's very similar to what the coach at Augsburg said about Pepe when he showed up. They spent $20 million on him, and the coach said, "Hey, wait, we're going to have to bring him up. He's young." So the same thing is going to happen to Velasco. My bigger concern is that the guy is small. He's like Aaron Geese. He seems like he's very little, so he's probably could be injury prone if he gets knocked around in MLS. So I'm going to guess that they're going to limit his minutes. He's not going to go full 90 right away. He might be a sub in middle, or I don't expect him to go full games right now.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, and I'm going to tell you that he's closer to Barrios. He's a shorter guy. He's got some massive legs on him, a low center of gravity, and it's going to be the acclimation. But he's not this frail. He's not like Mauro Diaz. He's not Aaron Guiz type. He is more like along the lines of Barrios. That doesn't mean he'll produce. Barrios still needed a full, 6 months before he got acclimated, and he was an older player. So Velasco may need maybe that first year. I mean, I'd be happy if he's like another Castillo who drives us nuts with looking amazing one play and then completely looking lost the next play. I'd be happy if that's all he gave us the first year, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing I'll say is that remember when we signed Coman and he had that nice highlight where it was headed over and he tapped it up in the air and he volleyed it in. It was like, man, this guy can play. And then he got here and the guy had a terrible touch. And this Velasco, I'm telling you, this guy can play. I've seen too many clips where he's doing this and doing that. Yeah.
I have something to say about that. Here's the difference with Velasco. Here's another change that we're great call out with Coleman, by the way, because Coleman is the typical player that Dallas brings, and that is Coleman, Mosquera, Chala. These are players that were super subs in their leagues who look good at the end. They look like they were ready to make that next step. And Dallas said, you know what? These kids, when they make that step, they're going to make it in Dallas. But they weren't every game starters, not like Velasco is, not like Arriola is.
Right.
Not like the goalkeeper Paez was. Not like I think Nanu is different. He's along those lines. Nanu is along those lines, in all honesty. But that's your typical AFC Dallas DP signing, is a guy who they thought was going to make that next step.
Yeah, this guy, I don't think it's a thought. He's going to make the next step. Yeah,
this kid was the man on his team, as opposed to a guy that was coming off the bench. So,
I love it.
Great point.
And I think the other point too is like, the top Colombian league. There's some talent there, definitely. I mean, the MLS has pulled talent from there. Other leagues have, but in Atlanta, Velasco's coming already from a league with a much more skill, much higher quality of play. So it'll be very interesting to see how that translates, and I think that bodes well because typically FC Dallas has pulled guys who are coming from leagues where maybe they're going to succeed and they're going to adjust, but it's a little iffy on that level, the athleticism and the quality of opponents and things like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of leagues,
level of play can make someone look very good. Yeah.
And speaking of leagues, you talk about the best leagues in the Americas, not forget Europe, forget Africa, whatever. You talk about Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and then after that, it's an argument as to who's next after those three. And it used to be that you got someone from Colombia or Venezuela, Uruguay, and they were, a big deal, going to make a big impact in MLS. That's no longer the case. I think MLS has got to the point where I'm not saying they're on par with the Argentines and Brazils, but I'm saying that's the kind of player they got to get if they want to succeed in MLS, because there's no guarantee that a Colombian player, a guy from Uruguay or Paraguay, there's no guarantee that they're going to succeed in MLS because they're not on the same level as the Argentinian and Brazilian league and the Mexican league. And that's to the point where the MLS has basically said, you know what, especially Dallas, we need to get players from the bigger leagues in the Americas and Europe, and you're going to see less Venezuelans, less Colombians, less. I'm not saying they're going to ignore them. They're just elevating the league that they're getting players from.
And the biggest reason to be optimistic is our supporting groups are going bananas about the tweets from the other team, their fans, and how they're losing this guy and all the things that they're saying. I'm telling you, El Matador is going crazy over this. They're like, hey, this has never happened before. And it's just great.
Ismail, does this change? I mean, FC Dallas fans for a long time have had a very complicated relationship with Dan Hunt and Clark Hunt, owners of FC Dallas. Is this the trajectory of a new relationship? Is this, are we kind of into Dan Hunt now?
I mean, I hope so. I think the hashtag Dan Hunt in is a little bit premature, slightly, because one good choice does not fix a lifetime of mistakes. I think, as we've seen from what's going on right now behind the scenes with the supporters groups and the FC Dallas front office, that things are still not swimming. Things are still not going swimmingly. I think this was one of the major issues that we had with the front office, that their penny pincher quality made it very difficult for this team to be relevant in the league. This is a good first signing. The important thing, first off, is that this isn't a one-off, and this isn't the only thing that they do. Those are the two things. I mean, I don't expect us to sign another $7 million player next winter, but it shouldn't be in the next 10 years before we do that again. It needs to be sooner rather than later. That after we sell, if we sell, if we sell Shun, if he plays really well in Europe and we sell him for 4 to 5, if we sell Che when he comes back from loan for a lot of money, these things happen.
Che's not coming back.
Yeah, he's not coming back. But if we when we're going to sell him, we get this money back, it still has to be re-implemented. That is important. It cannot just be this one-off that's Velasco and that's it, and we don't do anything else.
Agreed.
It has to be progressive. So this is a good first step. I didn't think the first step was going to happen, so I'm still ecstatic. The first step is happening, but there needs to be progression. This can't be the only thing we do.
Yeah, Ben says they have to do this for 3 or 4 windows in a row for me to believe that Dan has changed, right?
Yeah. Again, I don't think we're going to sign another $7 million. It's not going to be like consistent $7 million the next window, then the next window, then the next window on one player. That's not going to happen. But next window, for when we're looking for a 6, because I'm going to assume that if Cirillo gets to MLS level, which we hope he does, he might not stay here long because he's still very young and he has high upside. So Cirillo might be gone if he plays well in a year or two. he might be gone if he doesn't play well because he's also not super young. And Facu currently doesn't look great, so we're probably going to need a 6.
I
That's
agree.
somewhere where we might spend next winter. If we do, that's great. If we spend like 3-4 million, like Real Salt Lake is about to on a really good Colombian, for a 6, that's great. If we don't do that for the next, if we don't sign a player for at least 3 to 4 million in the next 3-4 windows, then that's really disappointing because that to me tells me it's a one-off.
Well, I also think Ferreira is going to be leaving us sooner or later, and it may be the next window. But when he leaves, I want the front office. I mean, Andre Zanata's got to keep the team winning. It's not about selling and making money. Well, it is about making money, but you also have that thing to win, right? So when it comes to playoffs and we're in first place, and then we sell our best player and we have no one come in, and we do need a 6 very badly, in my opinion. I mean, Arriola is not going to be the answer for the whole season. And I don't like this other guy that we have behind him. So, the thing is, are we in it to win? Or are we going to still sell at the next break? You know.
I want to say that my opinion on this is I've been saying that this is the year for Sonoda to prove that mind you, there's still teams in South America that when they say, hey, we need a general manager, we need off-product guys, Sonoda is usually the top guy on that list. They still rave about this guy, and we've been like saying, "Hey, show us." You keep telling us Sonoda's this great cat. He's a great salesman. He's proven that beyond a doubt, but he hasn't shown us that he's a great talent. And now we're seeing that. I mean, we're seeing Sonoda basically flexing. I don't think it's so much Dan Hunt. I think the Dan Hunt being more active. I give Eddie credit for that. Him saying to Dan, said, hey, you need to be more vocal. You need to be more interactive with the fans. I give Eddie credit for that. But as far as the aggressive moves, I think that's Sonoda saying, cut me loose. We have the money. Let me prove to you that I can build a winner and we can continue being a selling club while being a winner. And I think this is the season for Sonoda to flex and say, hey, look at us. If we make the playoffs, if we make the finals, the money offers will come for Ferreira. They'll come for Velasco. They'll come for Cervania. They'll come for Surreal. They'll come for Paxton. They'll come for Shun. But we need to put a winning product out there because teams want winners. It's so much better when they say, hey, Ferreira led Dallas to the title game or led them to the finals and was a top scorer in the league. Now you got teams going, hey, we want that guy. Same thing with Velasco. If you put a winning product and it's and you show that your young talent is balling out, the offers will come. And Sonoda is his chance to prove that he can't just sell players. He can also spot talent and bring it in, and you got to be excited about it.
Yeah, to real quick to Jose's point, Pepe went for 20 million with no one giving him service. What if he had good service last year and doubled his goals, or had even how much more would he been sold for? Because
what if he was in the Golden Boot?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Right.
Well, let's shift real quick. I've got a few more video clips we're going to hit. We're going to talk about Nico and kind of what Nico's bringing to the team. But let's jump to this clip I pulled from Chum Chat, which is a nice podcast to recommend, featuring Tanner Tessman and Johan Gomez. And they give kind of a nice insider look. So we're going to watch this where Johan talks about his experience with our new right back, Nanu.
Now, speaking about right backs, and speaking about FC Dallas transfers, and you mentioned him earlier, Nanu, a guy that not many people know about. You asked me about him when he signed. I was extremely surprised to see that he signed, and I actually have a connection to him, just a little bit. He was one of the first teamers, and I told you this, Tanner, but this is more for the audience. He was one of the first teamers that was playing down with us in the second half of the season last year at Porto B because we were in the relegation zone trying to fight off relegation. So he was helping us. Now, he's a natural right back, but the first team's coach was the right back for our team. So obviously it was hard to kick him out of that spot. So they put him at left back. He was a pretty good left back. I wouldn't say anything. A couple people asked me within that Dallas team, what is he like? How's his play style? And I would say he's a really fast guy. He's known for his speed. He's okay technical wise, but it's more speed. Defensively, it's like he's pretty good, pretty solid. But he's more known for his attacking ability, putting crosses in, stuff like that. Maybe being more of a wing back. Maybe they see him as a wing back or even a winger. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I remember Tanner asking me, yo, like, how good does he speak English? Like, maybe we can get him on and talk about like the connection between both of us. Tanner, Dallas, me, Porto. And then I was like, you know what? I didn't really interact with him that much because, to be fair, when they would come down literally. So if we play in Lisboa, and we'd be there, we'd drive there, and then they'd get the news that they didn't make the roster for the A team. So they'd drive and whatever or fly that night before the game to Lisboa. So we'd literally not interact with them at all until like the game. They'd show up at the locker room basically, or show up at breakfast the morning of.
Yeah.
So, you're not conversing with them. So I told Tana, I was like, I don't really know how well he speaks English. Maybe he does. And then the FC Dallas video of him like saying hi to the fans comes out. And it was so funny because Tanner sent it to me on Instagram and I didn't see it. And I saw it on Twitter first and I sent it to him on Twitter. And we were both like, yeah, we're not having him on, right? He could barely even say like thank you to the fans. But, I think he'll be a perfect fit for FC Dallas and it'll be interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate that wisdom there. Attacking minded outside back. Interesting that he can play some left back. I thought it's funny that I guess Porto B's their head coach was also their right back. That's so funny. Yeah, but some good, interesting words there. That this is a guy that does have some legitimate credentials and some experience that we're excited to see. Now he hasn't been with the team in preseason because he's at the African Cup. So just interesting thing. I mean, is it potential that he ends up being a sneaky good signing for the year? Ishmael, what do you think?
I think he's going to hopefully be a really good player. I think if you go back to Zanata, I think this is a really good signing from Zanata, and as an example of him being able to adapt and change the way he signs players, because these loans with possible transfers at the end give FC Dallas a lot of flexibility. We hope Nanu is a really good player. We hope Paez is a really good player. We hope they acclimate. But if they're not able to play well, or if they're not able to acclimate, they'll be able to go back to their teams. One thing that I think is important, a lot of people talk about how he hasn't played for the first team this year because of the injury that he had, the concussive injury. The year before, he was playing in Champions League. That is pretty noteworthy. He was rotating with another player at right back, but it wasn't like he was second string. They were both playing first team games. Like he started in a game against Chelsea in the Champions League. Like Porto wouldn't play him against Chelsea if they didn't have confidence in his ability. They wouldn't do that. So he has talent if he's able to play in Champions League. The issue is, again, if he's able to transition it. I think from Portugal to MLS is a lot easier than most South American leagues to the US because Portugal is at a very high level, especially Porto. Again, I am the biggest Tomasi fan. So it's going to be very interesting to see that position battle because the fact that they gave Tomasi a new contract shows that they have confidence in him too. So this seems like a signing not to overthrow Tomasi, but to put a positional battle, to have two possible starting right backs on the team and say, whoever's best in training this week or whoever's most consistent, they're getting the starting position. So that's going to be fun to see this season.
Yeah. Tommy, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I agree. I like the signing as well, and I don't think it's a replacement for Tomasi. I see Tomasi as like a utility player similar to Tesho because he can also play on the wing, and I think they're going to find ways to give him both minutes. And we also know that Hollingshead is getting a little older in age, and I think there'll be plenty of minutes for everyone. But I like the signing a lot.
Well, all right. Well, let's keep some videos going here. Other questions I had for all of the media availabilities this past week was just to each player that I could get an question into was sort of like their their first impressions of Nico, of Coach Nico Estevez, of kind of what he's bringing, his change. And it sounds like there's been a lot of changes. I put a article up on BigDSoccer.com about it today. Including things that were just sort of dropped in little tidbits from like the assistant coach Ben Cross about a change of the floor plan of the office to create a more collaborative environment. And those little things can be just sometimes just little things and they make no difference at all, but sometimes they can create little adjustments in atmosphere and attitude and communication. But so I asked both Paxton and Matt Hedges about the new coach, and so let's start with Matt Hedges and listen to his perspective.
Got a little bit of it. He's very tightly controlled with the trainings. I mean, they're very organized. A lot of positive energy from Nico and the staff, but he's kind of a more of a big picture guy. He let his assistants, handle the little details. We got guys for each line, midfield, forwards, defense. So he lets them, coach like they coach, and then he kind of takes care of the big details. I mean, obviously he gets in there if he sees something that we need to change, but that's kind of how he's been so far.
All right, let me jump over to Paxton's perspective because he gives, Matt Hedges is always a man of few words. Here's
it's important to note it's not just Nico, but it's a lot more changes than that. We have a new assistant coaches, new fitness coaches, medical staff is, everything from top to bottom has changed just a little bit. So obviously there's going to be different ideas and concepts, and I feel like trainings have been really good, and we're really trying to focus on concepts in training that will translate to the game in open spaces and big spaces. So we're doing a lot of 11v11s to get guys used to the way Nico wants to play, press, and things like that. So it's been a little bit different, but I think Nico and his foundation is really similar to how we have always played at FC Dallas. Just possession base, go forward, attack, be dominant, and with a little bit of other things that he brings along. So I'm excited, and I know a lot of the guys are excited with the concepts and the tactical changes. So you guys will see those in the upcoming preseason games. And
so concepts, big picture. I mean, I like Matt mentioning that there's a coach assigned. There's some delegation happening. And Nico's kind of focusing on the bigger picture items, but there's also some continuity that FC Dallas is being asked to play not in an entirely new way. They're not throwing out, I recall Lucci's experiments with the 5-3-2, which just never quite worked. And so it does seem like there's a little bit of continuity, but that Nico is bringing just some different energy. Anything from how Matt and Paxton's comments that stood out to you that captured your attention and give you some excitement, Jose?
I actually wanted to talk about the Nanu acquisition.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that.
I'll get back to that, but I want to point out two interesting things that came out of that. And I want to point out that FC Dallas had a weakness last season that we all knew was there, and we all just kind of laughed it off and it wasn't our biggest concern. But no one ever accused FC Dallas of being a slow team. But we all knew that there was only one burner on the whole team. When you needed speed, that was Obrian and nobody else.
Not
Obrian
even Frank O'Hara? Not Frank.
No, there was a lack of that killer speed. Obrian was it, and he had one speed, and he had very little control. So you could get him down the field, and then maybe something would happen. But there was no plan B. So I'm excited to hear that Nanu is known for his speed, and
He's fast.
Velasco is known for his speed. And now you've got a team that doesn't have just one burner, and now you're guys that are sneaky fast like Paxton and Ferreira, who aren't considered fast, but can have bursts of speed that'll catch you off guard. Now teams can't focus on them. They got to focus on more than one burner, and all of a sudden, FC Dallas has speed across the board. Now, I'm not saying it's a recipe for absolute success, but it addresses a huge weakness from last season that we all knew was there and all just kind of acknowledged and said, okay, it's not a big deal. But it was a big deal, especially when you're chasing a game, when teams are hunkering down and you have one guy and no playmakers. That was addressed. I'm very happy, and we still haven't seen what the college guys have to do. So hopefully there's no speed emergence. Now, as far as what Paxton and Matt say, Matt's the ultimate professional. Matt's going to be team first. He's going to say all the right things. So I think Matt didn't really say anything, you know. But I think Paxton, you got to listen to what Paxton said, and saying, hey, this is a different, feel, a different approach, and I think watching their excitement, Paxton's excited about it. I'm excited about it because I think he's one of the players that's going to, hopefully, we all are hoping, will thrive under Nico in the center. And we won't say he's the guy. He's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. No, he's not going to be the guy. Paxton is just going to be one of several guys, and he doesn't have to be the lone playmaker, and that's exciting.
Yeah. Tommy, did you pick up anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just the body language from Paxton, and it's just the guy looks like he's got a new lease on life, and he didn't say too much. He, when the other coach was here, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna have possession and stuff." Well, he didn't commit to it, and maybe that's from the coach. Don't go out and tell the other teams how we're gonna play. Just throw out there generic stuff, and it's from game one. It's gamesmanship, but the body language from Paxton is a tell-all. Look how happy he looks. And, we're all talking about Velasco, Ferreira, and Arriola, and, Nanu, and all the college guys that were at it. But this guy, if he's healthy, he had an okay year last year, but it reminded me of the year before when Ferreira had an off year. Paxton had that off year, and then Ferreira came back, had a good year. I think this is the guy to watch out for, especially if he stays healthy. Yes.
Yeah. Ismail, anything that stood out to you?
I mean, both Lucci and Papi were known to be fairly loose coaches. They if what we're hearing about Nico is true, that he's super rigid, he has structure, and that's what that's his coaching and administrative style. I'm not going to say that's good or bad. That's different. That's something we haven't had in a while. For that kind of structure to work, I think everyone needs to buy in. That's really important. Because when it's the issue with it being more loose is sometimes the required force to bring out the best in players isn't always there. But if it's super strict and the players don't like it, they might not fall into the system. So there's pros and cons of both ways of coaching. We can't say anything until we actually see a game. Mm-hmm. That's why I wish we could have seen the game against the U.S. Youth National Team. That would have been great to see what was basically the reserve side have every shot blocked by Antonio Carrera, apparently. I mean, now that MLS Next's schedule,
we can't even be mad about that.
Yeah, yeah. Now that the MLS Next Pro rules are out, I'm just waiting for the Carrera signing to happen. I'm just sign him to North Texas or FC Dallas or something. Just sign him because this kid is super, super talented. I know we know it's gonna happen. I want the official statement.
I hear the deal for Carrera is is signed to North Texas for the first season, and then
Right.
is guaranteed a spot in FC Dallas in his second season. That's what I'm hearing, and bravo. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, Todd's referring to Shellis, who was known to be very mean. I heard stories about one of the coaches that coached my daughter who had played for SMU, and he was telling me some stories, but just mean. It was just mean. I don't see mean
Yeah.
in Nico. I don't see mean at all. I think it's a different kind of coach than Shellis. And I'm very excited, and because he's very professional. He dresses professionally. He talks professionally. He talks with wisdom. And then when I saw just a little clips of him in the video, talking to the team, and he's telling the team, if you came here to be relaxed in your comfort zone, you're in the wrong place. But his delivery, it wasn't mean. It was professional. It was tight. I really like this guy. I think he's going to be a great coach.
And,
Yeah.
and further than that, with a disciplinary approach, you have to show results. You have to win the team over, and I think the early games are going to be key for Nico to show results, to say, see, it's working, and if you buy into what I'm doing, we'll have further success. So I think especially the home games, very important. You saw it with Lucci's approach hurt the team on the road, where the team was horrible on the road, and I think that's going to be the key. Is if Nico can come and have success at home, which will be expected from him, but then how the team handles up on the road, they need to have success early to get the team all on, to buy into it 100% and say, hey, this is working. We need to, if we're not 100% on it, we need to be 100% on it.
Yeah, and I think I think it is true that often, like any sports team, they yo-yo between, hey, let's bring in a coach who, we have talent on the roster who just needs to sort of inspire them and kind of let them be free and play their style, and that can lead to success. But there's always an end to that. There's a point where it spirals out of control a little bit. You bring in someone more structure, and players buy into that for a time, but then there's a point where that gets kind of tired. So we may just be seeing that kind of back and forth. Not like Nico's going to be here for 10 years or anything like that for FC Dallas, but it probably is a relief to some players who were like, hey, maybe at times last season we're like, well, I needed more feedback. We needed more structure during some of these runs of play that just weren't working. We needed someone to give us, not just to inspire us, but to give us some things to actually work on and get better at. So I think we'll see. We'll see how Nico does. I do agree that it's like Nico's kind of, he's a first-year head coach in Major League Soccer, so there's going to be some challenges. It's not going to be easy for him. Well, let's close out the show with some United States men's national team talk. 2 wins at home, 1 loss, at Canada, which was both surprising and not surprising, disappointing, and also just like, okay, it's the challenge of a Berhalter coach team. Like there's times where this team looks just great, and there's times where you're like, this doesn't work, but I don't know what to make of it. They're on track to qualify, and that's really what's most important. But as we mentioned earlier, every goal was scored or assisted by an FC Dallas player, former player, academy player, which is incredible, right? Tommy, what do you think? I know you have some thoughts on this.
I do. So interesting enough is that we had a header scored on Honduras last night by McKinney, and it's very in similar fashion to the goal that Pepe scored in Honduras. So obviously they have a deficiency covering the high ball. I didn't like the fact that they chose the winner field for. I thought that it limited the U.S. I felt like the U.S. was playing Houston last night. It was pretty bad, and the weather didn't help our passing. If you can look at some of the passes to Reggie in the wing, they were behind because it was so hard to kick that ball. It's just ugly to watch. But the U.S. has got some problems because it's one thing to play Honduras in a low block, but if you're going to play Argentina and Germany in a low block in the World Cup, I don't know that we have the players to score on a low block, and the counterattack we've been very susceptible to. I don't, I think we're going to qualify, and we should be happy about that. But I think the team is missing like a Clint Dempsey. I don't see that Clint Dempsey on the field, and I think that we're missing that one player.
His name is Matthew Hoppe, but
Maybe so. Yeah, they're missing something, and before Dempsey there was Donovan, and while Pulisic is very good, he's in a slump, but he hasn't proven himself lately to be the Donovan or the Dempsey.
yeah, I'm not going to take too much out of last night's game. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
it's a bad team.
I'm. It was a very bad team playing in conditions that none of the players on the field have ever played upon. It's again, I know it's been reiterated 1,000 times, but the fact that players got frostbite makes this the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
I think the Honduras game, you really can't take too much from it. I expected us to win. If we had lost, that would have been fireable, honestly. The game against Canada is disappointing, not because of the result. I mean, I think Canada might have gotten a win even if we played very well. Just Canada is really that explosive and that good defensively. But I mean, when Tyler Adams every time he wins the ball decides to pass it back, your system is bad. It just doesn't make any sense. So I don't think the Berhalter out people on Twitter are super logical most of the time, but Berhalter has been very poor offensively since he coached in Hammarby. He got fired for it. Like literally in the press release, they said because the attack was poor. Same thing he had the same issues in Columbus mostly. Like there were very good seasons, and then there were very poor ones where the attack could not click. He's very inconsistent like that. I mean, so that's the kind of coach we are. So, I mean, it might work, it might not. We probably will qualify, but even getting out of the group stages doesn't look like a lock with this kind of squad. So,
I thought Pepe played well, though. I like Pepe. I think. Go ahead, Jose.
I'm going to tell you right now that U.S. fans are delusional. It's a team that failed to qualify to the last World Cup, and they expect this same team that failed to qualify for the last World Cup to dominate and win and be the number one team in a region that failed to qualify the last World Cup. So, delusional. Second of all, we're not so good that we can play teams on a natural field and run circles around them. That's a false view. If you can get a home field advantage, you take it. I live in Wisconsin. It's cold. I watch teams play in cold weather all the time, and they take pride in it. The fans know it's going to be cold. They show up, and they expect the team to take advantage of the weather and make the other teams feel miserable. This is expected. I'm a Cowboys fan. If the Cowboys play Green Bay, we know we're going to Green Bay. I know the weather's going to be cold. I know it's going to be bad, and I have to make a decision. Do I want to go support my team in Green Bay in the cold weather? Or it's going to be nationally televised. I can sit in the comfort of my home and be warm. And, of course, I'm going to choose to go support them, and I'm going to be all bundled up to high heaven, and the fans there are going to lightly jab me and say, man, it's not that cold. You're overdoing it. Look, I'm just saying, excuse me, I'm just saying, Minnesota, those fans there knew the weather. They knew what they were in. If they didn't want to be there, they didn't have to be there. I know people are like, oh, the fans, they're consumers. They're paying for the ticket. They know the deal. Don't feel bad for them. They knew the weather. I'm sorry. I don't buy this whole, we need to play on a better field. I don't buy it.
Look, fans, they bought the tickets. they're the crazy ones for going out. If I bought tickets and then a week later I found out it's going to be that cold, I would not go. That's me. The fans make that decision. But in retrospect, this kind of game, the temperature of this game would have been tied for the third coldest NFL game ever. This isn't just going to Green Bay. It's not just like the kind of games that happen in the winter in Green Bay. This was unprecedentedly cold. It got to below zero. That is unplayable. Because again, in NFL, that's only happened 3 times in their history. So, like, the fact that the U.S., where they literally took away the fanny pack for Matt Turner because the ref was being a bad person. He's like, you can't have the fanny pack anymore. You have a player like the goalkeeper standing there doing nothing for 90 minutes. That's why this kind of decision is poor. That's
Well,
why
I think for
I question the whole frostbite thing. In all honesty, they were like, "Oh, these players, they were getting IVs because they got frostbite." That's not how you treat a frostbite. You don't treat it.
Reggie got
IVs.
Reggie got frostbite.
Reggie
got frostbite.
Cauliflower ear, by the way. In cauliflower ear, you get that from wrestling. You get that from physicality. You don't get that from frostbite. It's black. Your skin, it turns black. It turns like dead skin. You would lose a limb for that. If a frostbite means
there
surgery.
are levels of frostbite.
I think that, yeah.
I'm just saying that's the lack of preparedness. And I did hear the frostbite thing, and I'm just telling you, I'm living in Wisconsin. I'm laughing about this. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument. I don't get it. I don't buy it. And I live in the cold. When you're living in the cold, and don't, you know, the U.S. players, they knew what they were in for. I'm guarantee you that they were briefed on the temperatures, on how to dress, on where the heaters were, on what to wear. All this, they didn't just say, just go out there and play. That's not how professional teams work. And it was all designed to say, hey, we just lost to Canada and we need a guaranteed win. And that's why they played Honduras in Minneapolis to ensure a win, because let's face it, had we played them in Atlanta or someplace nice and Honduras ties, you would all be losing your mind.
Well, Jose, I'm going to disagree there. I think that the bad weather conditions limited the play and actually gave Honduras a better chance of tying the game, because, you know, if that game was played in the grass in Florida, it would have been like 5-0 USA. And I think the most important thing for home field advantage is to make sure your crowd is 90% USA, not pro.
100% on that, because you got to play in Florida in weather that's closer to what Honduras is used to, and they can sit back and play defense and be comfortable and not have to worry about, oh my God, I can't feel my left leg. No.
Well,
no.
I think the weather would not have changed.
I'm telling you, it would. I'm telling you,
All
everybody, every U.S. fan is going, we should have won 8-0. We should have won. I mean, they're delusional. I'm telling you, if this game was played in Florida and the game was 1-1, everybody would be losing their mind saying, why didn't we play in New England? Why didn't we play in Columbus? Why didn't we play someplace cold like Denver?
That was one of the worst teams I've ever seen play at USA.
It doesn't matter. You want a guaranteed victory coming off a loss. You don't want to leave anything chances. The best teams, the best winners in any sport, don't leave it a chance. They make sure that the refs are in their favor, the weather's in their favor, the conditions are in their favor. They want to eliminate the possibility that the other team has any chance to win. The game is won before you even step on the field.
I get you, Jose. I'm just going to leave it and say that if that's what it takes for the U.S. to win, then we shouldn't be playing soccer, because we got to beat teams when the weather is nice.
We're not so good that we can say we're going to run circles around CONCACAF teams. We're not that good. That's a misconception. This team is designed to peak at the World Cup, not at CONCACAF qualification. Qualify. Get to the World Cup. Peak there. I just want qualification. I don't want them to win the hex or whatever it is. qualify, get in. It's a young team, and this young team will be a more mature team at the World Cup. Make your statement there. Who cares if Canada won? Who cares if Mexico won? As long as you get in and have a shot. Get in. And next 4 years, if we made the World Cup, then you can say the next step, okay, we made the World Cup. Now let's take the next step. Because let's face it, we didn't qualify. I don't want to hear this we should be winning the region. We should be blowing everybody out. We're not that good. Admit it.
Ben agrees with you. Goals to qualify by any way possible. Hey, it's late. It's late. Let's close up our conversation at this time. This is good. We got a little spicy there at the end. Jose bringing his Wisconsin, that cold energy.
It's cold. Deal with it.
But Texas right now is getting some cold front, right? So, hey.
Yeah, I was considering going to the U.S. game, but I knew it was in Minneapolis and it was going to be cold, and I was like, you know what?
So, quick question, Nathan, to you.
Yeah.
What's causing all this change at FC Dallas? Where we got this new coach, we're changing the cafeteria, the office, we're bringing in all these players. Did Dan Hunt get married and bring his wife as an employee, and she say, "Hey, we got to change"? What's driving all these changes?
That's a great question, and I do think. I do think ultimately the team realized last year. I think there was enough for Dan Hunt. We can go back to that press conference where Dan Hunt announced that they were letting Lucci go, and Zanata was on that call too, on that press release. And I do
Dan
think
Hunt he's tweeting now.
Yeah, and I think there was a realization that it just wasn't working. And maybe there was trust placed in different areas. There was a reassessment, but I think Pepe's sale was a big factor. It gave the team a bit of cash. It continued became like a catalyst. And I think Nico deserves some credit too. I don't know how much behind the scenes or how much coaches can negotiate things like, hey, if I'm going to come in here, here's some things I want to see.
Yeah.
Maybe Nico has had a role to play in this too, of just like, hey, this is how I'm going to approach things, and this is what I need to be successful. So it is a good question. I mean, maybe Dan Hunt, maybe he had a near-death experience and he realized, like, gosh, life is short. I better make this FC Dallas team as good as I can. We don't know,
I've been a season ticket holder and I had 4 seats since 2010. And I dropped 3 seats last year, so maybe it was me dropping the 3 seats.
Yeah, maybe that's
one.
That was like, oh shit.
Dan Hunt looked down at the spreadsheet and was like, oh, losing Tommy.
I'm a big fan. If I drop 3 seats, something's wrong, right? That's telling me, like, what am I doing?
Are you telling me that if Tommy stops being a season ticket member, we're gonna sign Insigne next? Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Messi's gonna be on his way. Well, we're losing Tommy. Get Messi on the phone.
I love the change, Dan Hunt. So welcome back, Dan.
All right.
I think Tommy and the rest of the season holders were heard loud and clear, and I think the team failing to make the playoffs was a big gut punch to Dan and them. And I think Sonata got into his ear and said, "Let me bring in my guy. Let me spend some money. We can fix this, and we can come out of this whole COVID thing strong as a stronger team." Making that step, and I applaud it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, all right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you for all the comments, Todd and Ben, and we will be getting our podcast, the audio version of this, going soon. So stay tuned for that. But maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe in a couple weeks. It's still preseason, so we're sort of getting warmed up. But thanks, Tom. Thanks, Ismail. Thanks, Jose. It's a great conversation tonight. Good night, everybody.
I enjoyed it. Good night.
See ya.